Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a huge one, that massive, ongoing clash between science and faith. For centuries, a lot of very smart people were absolutely convinced they knew how this story would end. But, as it turns out, reality had a very different idea.
So let's dive right into the heart of the puzzle, shall we? For a long time, rational scientific thinking has been growing, expanding, explaining more and more of our world. The prediction was pretty simple. Science would just take over. Religion would fade into the history books. So, what happened? Why are these two incredibly powerful systems still battling it out for our belief? Okay, to really get a grip on this, we've got to look at how these two systems are built. Their fundamental blueprints are completely different. It really all boils down to one simple question. Are they open to being challenged, or are they designed to be closed?
Right, so first, let's talk about ideology. The source material gives us a great definition here. It's not just a set of ideas about how the world works. The crucial part, the real kicker, is that it also justifies why a certain group should be in charge or why things should be a certain way. Think about it, like patriarchal ideologies that justify the power of men. That justification piece is everything. And from a sociological standpoint, a lot of religions work in a pretty similar way.
And this, right here, this is the whole game. It lays out the difference perfectly. On one side, you've got science, an open system. Its entire engine runs on doubt and testing. It's designed to be proven wrong. If a theory doesn't hold up to the evidence, boom, it's out. But on the other side, you've got religion and ideology, closed systems. They're built on a foundation of core beliefs that you just don't question. So when a contradiction pops up, the system's job isn't to change the belief, it's to find a way to protect it at all costs.
So you have this fundamental difference, right? Science is constantly trying to correct itself, while faith is built to protect itself. And this very idea made a lot of early sociologists, well, let's just say they were pretty darn sure they knew exactly what was coming next.
Yeah, they pretty much saw history as a one-way train, heading in a single direction. To them, religion was this relic from a superstitious pre-modern time. They were absolutely convinced that as society marched forward, the bright, rational light of science was just going to completely snuff out the little flickering candle of faith.
And here's a perfect illustration of that thinking. This guy, the sociologist Auguste Comte, he actually mapped it all out. He came up with these 3 stages of human thought. He said, look, first we start at the theological stage, where, gods and spirits are behind everything. Then we move on to the metaphysical stage, where we start thinking in terms of more abstract forces, like nature. But the final stop, the peak of human achievement, that's the scientific stage, where everything is based on cold, hard evidence and logic.
Another big thinker, Max Weber, he had a really similar take. He had this famous idea that the world was becoming disenchanted. He argued that as our world got more modern, more rational, more, bureaucratic, there just wasn't any space left for magic or mystery or the supernatural. All that spiritual meaning was just draining away. So the takeaway here is that the world was supposed to stop being this enchanted garden, right? A place full of spirits and unseen forces. Instead, it was supposed to become a well-oiled machine, understood only through things we can measure and test. And honestly, the predictions seemed totally clean, totally logical. It felt inevitable.
Right, so that was the prediction. Clean, simple, inevitable. But reality has a funny way of not following the script, doesn't it? That future that seems so certain, it never actually showed up.
That grand takeover where science was supposed to just wipe religion off the map? Yeah, it just didn't happen. Not on a global scale, anyway. Sure, you've got parts of Western Europe that have become pretty secular, but that is definitely not the story for most of the planet.
We're not talking small numbers here. We're talking billions. Billions of people around the globe still follow the major world religions. For a massive chunk of humanity, faith isn't some relic. It's a powerful, central authority in their daily lives.
And get this, it wasn't just that the old beliefs stuck around. In a lot of places, they came roaring back with a vengeance. Look at the rise of religious fundamentalism. A lot of scholars see this as a direct reaction against our globalized secular world. It's like a defiant stand for absolute certainty in a world that feels more and more uncertain.
So, that's one part of the plot twist, but there's another layer to this. It wasn't just that faith survived. At the same time, science itself started to come under fire from a totally new direction.
Yeah, this new wave of thinking, which we can broadly call postmodernism, started asking some really tough questions. It wasn't really attacking the scientific method itself, but it was looking at the results and asking something, well, something a lot more uncomfortable. Hey, science, has everything you've done actually been good for us?
And let's be real, the critics had a point. They pointed to some pretty heavy stuff: pollution, climate change, weapons of mass destruction, and said, look, these are the direct results of applying science. And that, understandably, started to shake people's faith that science was this purely objective, neutral force for good.
This whole critique led these postmodern thinkers to call science a meta-narrative. It sounds complicated, but it's really just a fancy term for a big, grand story that claims to explain everything. You know, like a religion does, or a major political ideology. A story that says, we've got all the answers. We have the one universal truth.
So, what's the big takeaway here? In this view, science kind of got knocked off its pedestal. It lost its special claim to being the one and only path to absolute truth. Suddenly, it wasn't the final authority anymore. It was just one powerful story, one loud voice, competing in a marketplace of ideas alongside all those other beliefs. And all of that brings us right back to today. We're living in the middle of this ongoing tension, this really complex battle for what we believe. And trust me, it is far from over.
And this, right here, this lays out the core trade-off we all face. On the one hand, you have science. It promises accuracy, it promises a clearer and clearer picture of reality, but it's never finished. It's always changing. On the other hand, you have faith. It offers something totally different: certainty, an unshakable sense of meaning and purpose. It's really accuracy versus certainty.
So we end with a question that's really for you to think about. In this world with all these competing stories vying for your belief, from science, from ideologies, from faith, how do you personally weigh that trade-off? When it comes down to it, what's more important to you? A system that's always striving for accuracy, or one that offers the comfort of absolute certainty?